You probably already know that starting and growing your authority and your influence on YouTube is one of the most powerful things you can do for your brand and for your business, which is why in this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly how to start a successful YouTube channel so you can grow your business, build your brand, and have a whole lot of fun doing it. Hey there, my name is Erhart and welcome to the channel, the #1 place for entrepreneurs to learn proven marketing strategies to grow your business online. So if that's something you're interested in, you may want to consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you never miss a future episode. All right, let's talk YouTube. Specifically, how to start a successful YouTube channel. One that'll not only get you more views and more subscribers, but ultimately revenue, because at the end of the day, businesses aren't built on likes or shares or subscribers or anything like that. They're built on revenue and they're built on profit, which is why you need to ensure that you're setting yourself up for success with a profitable YouTube channel right from the beginning. But what do you do if you're brand new to the world of YouTube and you've got all of these different experts and gurus telling you all sorts of different strategies about keyword research and showing up in suggested, or how to appear on the browse or the homepage or anything like that, as well as how to structure your videos and how to get those coveted likes and shares and subscribers and all of the things that may make you feel good, but at the end of the day, well, they may not help you strategically grow your business if they're not being deployed in the right order and in the right way. So that's what I want to do in this video, essentially help you to avoid all of the pitfalls and all of the mistakes that I made when I was first starting my YouTube channel that allowed me to grow it to a pretty decent level, but less so in regards to subscribers and views and more so into the revenue that it contributed to my business. Again, you can't feed your kids with likes. You're gonna need some revenue if you want to build a real business. So let's dive in now, starting with tip #1. The very first thing that you need to understand when it comes to starting a successful YouTube channel is that YouTube, it's pretty much like all of the other social media networks or pretty much all of the other marketing strategies available, in that in order to be successful on the platform, you really do need to have a pretty solid understanding of some pretty basic marketing principles and fundamentals, things that are really going to drive the success of your business or of your social media strategy, whether we're talking about YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, whatever. One of the core principles that you really need to understand is something called the ICA, or Ideal Customer Avatar. This is especially true in more competitive social media networks because there's a whole lot of people that you could be going after and there's a whole lot of people that your competitors are going after. So it really makes sense to dial into that exact person that you want to serve and you want to focus on. This is known as your ICA, or Ideal Customer Avatar. The reason this is so important is because it's going to allow you to have alignment between your message and between the content that you're putting out there, and really ensuring that you're staying on point to the wants and the needs and all of the problems that your current ideal target market is going through, so you can position yourself as the authority and the expert and essentially the educator, helping them get from point A to point B, or whatever point they want to get to. So, who is your channel for? What do they care about, and how are you going to serve them? These are all incredibly important questions to answer when you're trying to craft that ideal customer avatar. Now, the top level aspects of an ideal customer avatar are things like demographic details like age, gender, income, occupation, things like that, geographic details like what city, state, province, or country they live in, and psychographic details like what are their attitudes, their beliefs, their organizations or affiliations that they're a part of. What really separates the amateurs from the pros, however, is the ability to take it one step further into something I call miracles and miseries, essentially identifying their miseries being their pains and problems and fears and frustrations, all the things they're trying to get away from, and their miracles, their wants and dreams and goals and desires, and all the things they're trying to move towards. Well, if you can create content that helps them bridge the gap away from their miseries and towards their miracles, again, you're going to establish yourself as a valued and trusted source of information. Now, when you're creating content and when you're designing the strategy around your YouTube channel and really trying to figure out who it is that you're going to target or what audience you're going to serve, it's really important to try to come with a value-first attitude. Essentially, the reason that so many YouTube channels fail, especially in the beginning, is because they're very self-centered or very selfish in regards to the content that's created on the channel. Essentially, it's content that the YouTuber wants to make or the authority or expert wants to make, but less so content that the audience actually wants to see. So how do you fix this? Well, if you already have an audience or you already have a customer database, it's pretty simple. You just have to talk to them and see what they say. If you don't, however, and you're starting completely from scratch, well, this is going to come down to kind of a testing sort of exercise where you're going to want to create a whole bunch of different content see what resonates, and then go from there. I know it's not very scientific, and for me as a marketing strategist, it's hard to say. So obviously I want you to do a little bit of due diligence, a little bit of research into your customers, but the reality is, until you create content and put it out there on YouTube, you're really not going to know what hits and what's going to miss. And it's by identifying those hits so you can create more of them that really allows you to grow your channel. Anyway, understanding the marketing basics and the proven fundamentals are incredibly important, and perhaps the most important part, which is why at the end of this video, I'm gonna link up a free marketing training you can watch right after this one. All right, so let's move on to the next tip on how to start a successful YouTube channel. And this part's a whole lot more fun, and it really comes down to studying other successful YouTubers. You see, there's no need for you to go out there and try to reinvent the wheel and come up with something completely new, serving an audience that no one's serving, and really try to go into uncharted waters, because the reality is, especially on YouTube, there's probably someone similar to you doing something similar to what you want to do. This is actually a really, really good thing though, because competition, well, typically it's going to prove some kind of market demand. So if there's another YouTuber out there making your kind of content, serving your kind of audience, this is a pretty decent sign that, well, people are consuming the content, or at least there's some interest in it, especially if some of their videos have higher views. Also, there's an incredibly important tactic here that involves essentially studying and understanding the theme and the style and the attitude and the tone of different social media networks. After all, Instagram is very different than Facebook, which is very different than Twitter, which is very different than LinkedIn. All of these are very different than YouTube. So if you want to be successful on YouTube, you're going to need to watch a pretty decent amount of YouTube videos to try to understand, well, what kind of content resonates, what kind of tone, what kind of theme, how are the videos structured, where are the cuts being placed, what is the style, what do the backgrounds look like, what does your competition dress like, what do they say? All of these things go into essentially the brand and the style and design of your YouTube channel. Now, what I'm absolutely not advising here is that you go and just copy someone completely. First of all, totally unoriginal. Second of all, what works for them probably won't work for you because you're different and your market's different. Your business is different. The way you express ideas and your life experiences are different. So use this to model after and to try to get ideas and inspiration from, but definitely don't copy because you're only going to end up hurting yourself. All right, the next step in starting a successful YouTube channel is all about setting realistic expectations. Now, this one is a little tricky because there is no one-size-fits-all strategy for every single business, every single YouTuber, every single YouTube channel. We're all kind of different. This is why some channels get millions and millions of views and yet barely generate any income. And some channels generate pretty much a full-time income from only 1,000 subscribers. How is this possible? It comes down to the business and the business model, the offers that are being made, the target market they're serving, all sorts of stuff. But the reality is that very rarely does success happen immediately or overnight. It's gonna take some time. In fact, this is perhaps one of my favorite reasons to get involved on YouTube, is because there's a higher barrier to entry and because it does take a bit of time to build up that traction, to build up that content library and database of assets, and videos that are gonna be working for you around the clock. Well, it does mean that a lot of people simply aren't going to put in the effort, put in the time, put in the money in order to build their channel. This means as competitive as YouTube is, it's actually way less competitive than pretty much every other social media network. After all, think about how hard is it to just send a tweet, or to make an Instagram story, or to write a post on your Facebook wall. It can all be done in pretty much 2, 3, maybe 5 minutes. A YouTube video, on the other hand, it's going to take some scripting. It's going to take some keyword research. It's going to take some planning, some recording, some editing, some uploading. You're going to need a thumbnail. You're going to need to optimize it. And I don't say this to scare you and to put you off from starting a YouTube channel, but rather to simply be realistic with the amount of effort it's going to take and the fact that most people simply aren't going to do it. That's a really good thing because you're not most people. And if you really want to be successful, you know you're going to have to put in some work. So let's just accept this fact and get down to it. All that said, and I kind of touched on this just a second ago, but there's a huge myth in the world of YouTube, and that's that in order to generate any decent money from YouTube, you're going to need an audience of 100,000 subscribers, or 1 million subscribers, or 10 million subscribers. That's simply not the case. Using myself as an example, I was able to generate an additional $100,000 a year in revenue from my YouTube channel back before I had even 1,000 subscribers, which just shows if you have the right offer, if you have the right market, and you're able to do things strategically, you can have pretty decent results pretty early on. The key thing to focus on here is that YouTube really is a long game, and the further along that you get and the more effort and time that you put into it, well, the better your results are going to be. Maybe not overnight, but eventually. And not to mention that, along the way, you're going to learn some pretty amazingly valuable skills, like how to communicate to a camera, and how to script a video, and how to create engaging and valuable and relevant content. And essentially, you're going to be given an opportunity to serve your market, serve your ideal customer avatar at a higher level than most of your competitors are doing. And that's incredibly fulfilling and profitable. All right, so moving right along on how to start a successful YouTube channel, well, it's going to kind of build off that last point. And essentially, this one is going to be all about 26 videos. Now, there's a great saying here that every master was once a disaster. And again, I'm living proof of that. If you look back to my very first YouTube videos, well, they were filmed with a borrowed camera that was propped on top of a bookcase with a microphone that was only recording on one side. I mean, they're not that good. They're kind of blurry, I was super awkward, and super nervous. Well, fast forward to today, a couple hundred videos under my belt now, things are a whole lot more comfortable, and I'd like to think a whole lot more professional, and a whole lot more valuable as well, as I've learned to engage the community, talk with you, figure out what you want to learn, what kind of content you want, and then try my best to align my content with your needs. So, as every master was once a disaster, and as practice makes progress, or practice makes perfect, because let's be honest, we're all shooting for some level of perfection here. Well, to be great, you're gonna need to be not so great at first, and that's totally okay, because again, you're putting yourself out there, you're trying to create value, and you're going to take a little bit of work to get to the end result, but you can't get there if you don't get started. This is why one of my biggest suggestions to my clients and to my students when we're working them through a YouTube strategy and getting them started with a new YouTube channel is a 26 video minimum quota. Essentially, I want them to create 26 videos before we ever think about judging themselves too harshly, or definitely before thinking about stopping, quitting, or throwing in the towel. We need those 26 videos because they're going to give us a ton of data. They're going to give us a ton of experience, and they're going to enable us to build an even better channel moving forward. So why 26? Well, 26 videos works out to a video a week for 6 months, or 2 videos a week for 3 months. The more that you can record and the more that you can upload, the faster you're going to learn, and the quicker you're going to get results, and the quicker you're going to get feedback on what content hits and what content misses. So my recommendation is at least 1 video a week, and if you can do 2, that's amazing. The flip side of that is I definitely don't recommend doing daily uploads or 7 videos a week, because that is a really quick way to burn yourself out and just exhaust yourself, especially before you have the systems and the processes and the team in place in order to help you create better videos a whole lot quicker. This part is really obvious, and I know you understand it, but the reality is that the more videos you create, the better you're going to be at creating videos. The more comfortable it's going to be, the better the production is, and the more likelihood and the greater opportunity you're going to have to create that 1 or 2, maybe even 5 or 10 videos that really get that home run category. I'm not talking about viral videos with millions of views, but there's a very real possibility you could get a video with thousands of views, tens of thousands, or in my case, sometimes even hundreds of thousands of views on different videos. But for that to happen, you have to start now, which is my next tip on how to start a successful YouTube channel. We've already covered the importance of getting going and the importance of really just pressing record and starting to make that YouTube video. But when I'm talking with clients and with students, and when we're working them through the process of starting a new YouTube channel, I'm typically met with one of 2 different objections for why they want to put it off or wait until another day. The first objection is that they believe it's too competitive. And the second objection is that they just don't think they can do it. So let's address those both now. First, let's start with myth number 1, or objection number 1, which is that YouTube is too competitive. Now granted, YouTube is competitive and there's a ton of videos being uploaded, but when you compare that, like we did earlier, to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, you'll find very quickly that it's a whole lot less competitive. And when it comes to YouTube, you can have some pretty decent results and pretty good success on YouTube using an organic strategy, meaning not using paid ads to promote your channel or promote your content. Contrast that again with something like Facebook or Instagram, and yes, there are exceptions to the rule, but for the most part, if you really want to build a multi-6, 7, or even 8-figure business, you're probably going to need to run some pretty decent amount of paid advertising, Facebook ads or Instagram ads, in order to get your message in front of more people. Plus, like we talked about earlier, well, with YouTube, you gotta be on video. That scares a whole lot of people away, which again is a really good thing because it leaves the door wide open for you to walk through, to feel the fear, to do it anyway. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let's talk about objection number 2, which is I just don't think I can do it. First of all, I truly believe that if I can do it, you can do it. After all, I started on YouTube with very little public speaking experience, and to be honest, public speaking doesn't necessarily relate very well to YouTube because it's a completely different thing when you're talking to a group of people, talking to just a completely blank camera lens. I mean, I know you're there, but still really weird, like super weird. Like I'm alone in my studio. I don't even have a videographer with me here right now, so I'm just talking to a camera, which kind of feels like you're talking to yourself, which is kind of weird. Anyway, before I first got started, I put it off for months, for years. Way too long. In reality, all I really had to do was just hit record and get started. Like I mentioned, my first videos, well, they weren't that pretty. In fact, my first 5 or 10 were all with a borrowed camera propped up. They're kind of blurry, the audio doesn't work that well, but at least I got out of the way and I improved from there. And again, that's what really separates the amateurs from the pros. The amateurs let fear stop them and basically stop them from achieving their goals and their dreams. But the pros, well, they feel the fear and they do it anyway because YouTube is such a powerful brand builder. It can really grow your business. It can really deliver massive value to your audience and help you live the life that you want to live, but only if you get started. All right, the next thing you're going to want to do is check out the video I mentioned in the beginning on an introduction to marketing. So I've made sure to link that up right here so you can check it out right now, and I'll see you in the next episode.